Howdy, welcome back. I'm excited as we are getting into chapter 5 here and as we begin to talk about competitive rivalry and competitive dynamics. As we look into this, I wanted to just think of a few examples of rivals that we would see in different areas. One some people here may be familiar with. When we look at Hasbro and Mattel, toy and game companies go back and forth. There seems to be this red-blue theme that was completely unintentional here, but Coke and Pepsi, of course, as we are looking at them this week anyway. And then think of McDonald's, Burger King, and we could actually call this one a three-way rivalry, I think, with Wendy's thrown in there as well. So here are a couple of major questions. So what makes a competitor and what is rivalry? So competitors are firms operating in the same market, offering similar products and targeting similar customers. Competitive rivalry is the ongoing set of competitive actions and competitive responses that occur among firms as they maneuver for an advantageous market position. The outcomes of competitive rivalry influence the firm's ability to develop and then sustain its competitive advantages. Competitive behavior is the set of competitive actions and responses a firm may take to build or defend its competitive advantages and to improve its market position. And then multi-market competition occurs when firms compete against each other in several product or geographic markets. And this changes the level or the intensity of rivalry. Competitive dynamics, which we'll get to more toward the end of this chapter, is the total set of competitive actions and responses taken by all firms competing within a market or within an industry. So if we look at this from competition to competitive dynamics, we see competitors engage in competitive rivalry in order to gain an advantageous market position. They do this through competitive behavior, different actions, different responses. And then this results in competitive dynamics. As all firms act and react over time, we see these competitive dynamics, and they vary based on industry. So as an example here, we might look at Shell and Chevron, where they use different tactics, lowering gas prices, lowering gas price again, offering a drink special, a hot dog special, creating Techron, finding a way to increase demand and increase the price. Of course, then we get V-Power. They do the same thing, improving food menus, creating meal specials, adding Subway or other restaurants and stores, loyalty programs, other loyalty programs, changing gas prices. These things go back and forth. This is where we really see a rivalry, this back and forth action response. So ultimately, a strategy's success is a function of the firm's initial competitive actions, how well the firm anticipates competitors' responses to them, and how well the firm anticipates and responds to its competitors' initial actions. Competitive rivalry affects all types of strategies, but its dominant influence is on business level strategy. So firms are mutually interdependent. A firm's competitive actions have noticeable effects on its competitors. It might be that they are able to acquire resources that the competitor needed. More commonly, they're looking for or they're competing for revenue dollars. A firm's competitive actions elicit competitive responses from its competitors, and these competitors feel each other's actions and responses. Those actions and responses influence their own bottom line. Marketplace success is a function of both individual strategies and the consequences of their use. So a model here of competitive rivalry, we start off with competitive analysis. We look at market commonality and resource similarity. And this leads into the drivers of competitive behavior. As we learn about different firms, this may influence the awareness they have of one another, how motivated they are to act or to respond, and also their ability to act or respond. This leads to differences in the likelihood of attack and the likelihood of response taken by a company and its competitors or its rivals. This leads to different outcomes. The results of these actions and responses changes market position. Some firms get stronger, some firms may get weaker. This influences their financial performance. And this goes back to influencing their market commonality and their resource similarity as they have this ongoing pattern of interaction over time. So it's important for firms to understand what their competitors are likely to do. So we use competitor analysis for this. We want to understand their future objectives, their current strategies, assumptions, capabilities. Once firms understand their competitors, they can predict competitors' behavior, and ultimately, they seek to avoid competitive blind spots. An example here would be Chevron. Any public company will put out some sort of an annual report or their 10K, and there's information there that's available for their competitors to learn about them. This is just, of course, one example, but as of year-end 2018, Chevron had acquired new exploration acreage. They'd expanded retail marketing in Mexico. They had made a number of different decisions. I think you can also see what their capital and exploratory expenditures have been over time, their operating expenses over time. Their competitors, Chevron's competitors, can learn a lot about Chevron in making their own decisions related to that company. So question number one, I want you to identify 3 major product introductions at fast food companies in the past 3 years. Note the company and the new menu item, and probably when those products were introduced.